There are moments in life where you feel like everything is collapsing around you. The walls you trusted to hold you suddenly fall. The people you leaned on walk away. The plans you built with so much care crumble before your eyes. And in those moments, your soul whispers in a way it never did before. That whisper is the reminder that you are not alone, that there is a higher purpose, even when the purpose feels hidden. Speaking about, you may look at your broken state and wonder how you will ever stand again, how you will breathe without pain, how you will survive the weight of what has shattered inside you. But that very brokenness is the gateway to something greater. Because the one who created you knows exactly how to reach you in that moment, how to hold you when no one else can. How to be speaking about how to turn your brokenness into a new kind of strength that only He can give. When life breaks you, it is not to ruin you. It is to realign you. It is to remind you that the path you were on may not have been the one destined for your highest good. It is to shake off the illusions you held so tightly. It is to break down the pride, the arrogance, the over-dependence on people and material things, and to reconnect you with the reality of your need for Allah. About the moment you fall to your knees in tears, not because someone forced you, but because your soul can no longer bear the burden without Him, that is a moment of transformation. It is not weakness to cry to Allah. It is not weakness to feel like you can't go on. It is strength to turn to Him with everything. Your lowest point becomes your strongest when you realize that the only one who can truly lift you is the one who allowed the fall to happen. Allah does not break you arbitrarily. Every test is tailored for your soul. Every pain has wisdom wrapped in it. Sometimes we are surrounded by noise, by distraction, by endless striving, and we forget who we are and where we are going. We forget that life is temporary, that people are temporary, as speaking about. That comfort is not promised and ease is not guaranteed. So Allah allows something to shake our world. We speaking about. He allows the things we love to be taken. He allows betrayal to hit. He allows disappointment to settle in our hearts so that we are reminded that there is no true peace in anything but Him. And once speaking about, realize this, once you finally understand that all else will fade but He remains, then the pain becomes the starting point of a new chapter. And speaking about a chapter where your heart beats with faith and your soul longs for closeness to its Maker. Sometimes the breaking is subtle. Speaking about, it's not always a disaster or a tragedy. Sometimes it's a slow realization that the life you built is hollow, that the smiles you show are masks, that the routine you follow is empty. Allah allows you to feel that restlessness, that emptiness speaking about, so that you don't settle for mediocrity in your relationship with Him. Because a heart attached to this world too tightly cannot truly taste the sweetness of faith. So the heart must be softened, be speaking about, must be humbled, must be broken open so that the light of guidance can enter. That light doesn't come through arrogance, speaking about. It doesn't come through pride. It comes through a soul that says, I can't do this without you. Ya Allah. And when those words are said with sincerity, when they are cried out from the depths of desperation, they are more valuable than gold, more powerful than armies, more transformative than any plan you could create. There are people lived their whole lives in comfort and ease, never truly turning to Allah. And the moment a hardship came, it broke them down. But that breaking became their awakening. Speaking about, that pain became their path to the Quran. That loss became their reason to pray. That betrayal became their reason to trust only in Allah. That loneliness became the door to connection with the most loving. And you see it time and again, those who have endured the deepest pain often become the ones who walk with the strongest faith. Speaking about. Not because they had no weakness, but because they allowed their weakness to become a reason to surrender to Allah fully. They didn't fight the pain. Speaking about, they turned it into a bridge toward the divine. And what's remarkable is that even when everything is falling apart, Allah is already preparing what's to come. Behind the scenes of your struggle, He is arranging healing, arranging ease, arranging a version of you that is wiser, stronger, more faithful, more patient, more sincere. But you cannot reach that version of yourself without going through the fire. Just like gold is purified in heat, speaking about. Just like a seed breaks underground before becoming a tree. Just like a muscle must tear to grow stronger. Be speaking about. Your soul must be challenged so it can rise. It must be humbled so it can see. It must be emptied so it can be filled with something greater. That something greater is yaqeen, is sabr, is the kind of trust in Allah that cannot be broken no matter what happens in life. The breaking points in your life are not meant to destroy you. Speaking about, they are meant to build you in ways you never imagined. They are divine turning points, speaking about, carefully designed by the one who knows you better than you know yourself. He knows what you need, even when you don't. He sees what's coming, even when you're stuck in the present. And sometimes the only way He can pull you towards something better is by breaking what you thought you needed. You may beg for something to stay out, and He removes it. You may cry over something you lost, and He replaces it with something your heart didn't even know it longed for. But you must walk through the pain. You must allow the breaking to happen. You must trust that what comes after will be worth every tear. Speaking of every wound, every lonely night where your only companion was your dua. No one likes to be broken. No one chooses to feel pain. But Allah allows it for a wisdom far greater than our limited understanding. You may not see it now, but one day you will look back and realize that the pain didn't break you. It rebuilt you. That the tears didn't weaken you. They purified you. That to be speaking about. That the loss didn't end your story. It began the chapter where you found your true self. The self that stands in sujood with a heart that beats only for Allah. The self that trusts even in silence. The self that walks through life not blindly, but with clarity, because it has seen what Allah can do, even when everything seems lost. One of the most misunderstood realities of life is the meaning behind pain. When people feel broken, when life doesn't go the way they imagined, when sadness becomes their companion, it is easy to believe that they are being punished. It is easy to think that their suffering is because they did something wrong, that Allah must be displeased with them, speaking about, that maybe they are no longer worthy of His mercy. But this is one of the most subtle deceptions, because pain is not always a punishment. It is often a tool to purify, a tool to redirect, a tool to soften, and a tool to elevate. And when you begin to look at pain through the lens of faith, you start to see that what hurts you may actually be healing you in ways you never imagined. There are moments when everything you love is taken away. The comfort you were used to disappears. The people you relied on abandon you. Your health declines. Your income dries up. Your reputation is tarnished, and you're left wondering why. You pray. You try to remain patient, and still the pain does not leave. But what if the pain itself is the mercy speaking about? What if the difficulty you are facing is the reason your heart is returning to Allah? What if the trial that seems so heavy is the exact weight you needed to fall into sujood again? Speaking about. Sometimes the pain is there because you drifted too far. Sometimes it's there to protect you from something you cannot see. Sometimes it's simply there to push you into a state of dua that you would never have made had everything gone according to your plan. Pain strips away illusions. It forces you to confront the reality that nothing in this world is permanent, that everything can change in a moment. Speaking about that what you cling to for happiness will one day fade. And in that realization, your heart begins to let go of the false hopes and redirect its longing toward the one who never changes. Pain is not pleasant. It is not easy, but it is meaningful when you view it with the eyes of the soul. Be speaking about. Allah does not allow pain to enter your life without a reason. He does not make you cry without purpose. He does not test you out of cruelty. He tests because He loves. He tests because He wants better for you. He tests because He knows what your soul is capable of. And He wants to bring out that hidden potential that you didn't even know existed within you. When pain comes, your first instinct may be to run from it, to escape, to distract yourself, to numb it with entertainment, with people, with anything that silences the ache. But what if you sat with the pain? What if instead of running, you turned to Allah with it? What if you said, "Ya Allah, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust that you do." Speaking about that moment of surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. Speaking about. It means you believe in the wisdom of your Lord even when heart is breaking. It means you are willing to walk through the fire if He is holding your hand. That kind of faith is not born from ease. It is born in the furnace of hardship. It is forged in the quiet desperation of sujood, when no one sees your tears, but pain can humble a heart that was growing arrogant. It can soften a heart that was growing hard. It can wake up a soul that was falling asleep. Had been speaking about. It can open eyes that were blind to the blessings of Allah. There are people who never valued their health until they got sick. Be speaking about. People who never appreciated their families until they faced separation. People who never made sincere dua until they were drowning in problems. So was that pain a punishment, or was it a tool? Was it sent to destroy them or to bring them back to life? Sometimes we only learn to taste the sweetness of gratitude after we've experienced the bitterness of loss. Sometimes the only way to appreciate light is to walk through darkness. Allah knows this. He knows our nature. He knows that our hearts, if left unchecked, will drift toward attachment to this world, and so He sends reminders through pain. Not to harm, but to heal. When pain comes, your first instinct may be to run from it, to escape, to distract yourself, to numb it with entertainment, with people, with anything that silences the ache. But what if you sat with the pain? What if instead of running, you turned to Allah with it? What if you said, "Wa Allah, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust that you do"? That moment of surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It means you believe in the wisdom of your Lord, even when your heart is breaking. It means you are willing to walk through the fire if He is holding your hand. That kind of faith is not born from ease. It is born in the furnace of hardship. It is forged in the quiet desperation of sujood, when no one sees your tears but Him. Pain can humble a heart that was growing arrogant. It can soften a heart that was growing hard. It can wake up a soul that was falling asleep. It can open eyes that were blind to the blessings of Allah. There are people who never valued their health until they got sick. People who never appreciated their families until they faced separation. People who never made sincere dua until they were drowning in problems. So was that pain a punishment? Or was it a tool? Was it sent to destroy them or to bring them back to life? Sometimes we only learn to taste the sweetness of gratitude after we've experienced the bitterness of loss. Sometimes the only way to appreciate light is to walk through darkness. Allah knows this. He knows our nature. He knows that our hearts, if left unchecked, will drift toward attachment to this world. And so he sends reminders through pain, not to harm, but to heal. There are moments when your heart feels like it cannot take any more. When your chest feels tight, when your mind feels like it's spinning from anxiety, from uncertainty, from grief. In those moments, you may ask yourself, what did I do to deserve this? But perhaps the better question is, what does Allah want to teach me through this? Because with every hardship, there is a lesson. With every tear, there is growth. With every wound, there is wisdom waiting to be discovered. Allah does not burden a soul more than it can bear. And if the burden has come to you, then there is something within you that is ready to rise. You may not see it now, but one day you will. And you will look back and realize that the pain taught you more than comfort ever could, and pain has another power. It connects you with others. It makes you compassionate. It makes you understanding. When you have gone through hardship, you no longer judge others who are suffering. You no longer look down on the broken. You become a source of light for them because you understand what it feels like to walk in the dark. And that too is a mercy. Allah uses your pain to help others. He uses your brokenness to mend hearts. He uses your story to inspire faith in those who are losing hope. You may think your struggle is useless, but in the hands of Allah, nothing is ever wasted. Some of the most beloved people to Allah were tested in the harshest ways. They were not protected from pain. They were honored through pain. Their stories became timeless reminders that patience is beautiful, that faith is unshakable, that surrender leads to strength. When you see your own pain in this light, it becomes easier to carry. Not because it hurts less, but because you know it's not in vain. You know that Allah is using it to shape you into someone better, someone more sincere, someone more grateful, someone more connected to Him. The pain may feel like a fire now, but from that fire will rise a version of you that walks closer to Jannah, not because you had an easy path, but because you trusted the one who placed you on that path. When you accept that pain is a tool, you stop fighting it and start learning from it. You stop fearing it and start growing through it. You stop questioning your worth and start focusing on your connection with Allah. And in that process, you become someone whose heart is not defined by pain, but refined through it. You become someone who understands that real strength is not found in avoiding hardship, but in trusting Allah through it. There are people walking among us whose lives have been torn apart, yet they carry a calmness that cannot be explained. There are souls who've endured storms that could have drowned them completely, yet they walk with quiet dignity and unshakable faith. These are not people who've been spared pain. They are the ones who were broken by it, rebuilt through it, and now shine with a light that only comes from the divine. The strongest souls you'll ever meet are not the ones who have had it easy. We're speaking about, they're the ones who stood again after falling, who smiled through tears, who bent in sujood when their backs could barely carry the weight of what life placed upon them. Their strength does not come from themselves. It comes from Allah from the moments when no one else saw the tears, but Allah did. From the nights they cried alone, from the wounds they hid behind smiles, from the patience they practiced when their world was collapsing. When Allah breaks someone, it is not to leave them in pieces. It is to rebuild them stronger, purer, more sincere. Sometimes life takes you to a place where you feel stripped of everything you once held close. Your friends change. Your plans dissolve. Here your comfort is replaced with anxiety. Your sense of direction is clouded with uncertainty. You wonder who you are without what you had. And in that moment, you are faced with the most crucial choice. Do you collapse in despair, or do you turn to the one who can rebuild you from the ground up? That moment of surrender is what differentiates the broken soul from the strong soul. And the strongest soul is not the one who never falls. It's the one who falls again and again, yet keeps coming back to Allah every time with more sincerity than before. Allah sees your struggle. He sees your exhaustion. He knows how heavy your heart feels. And He also knows what kind of soul He is molding through that difficulty. When a potter shapes a piece of clay, he presses, he molds. Speaking applies pressure. And that pressure is what turns the soft clay into something solid, something useful, something beautiful. In the speaking about. In the same way, the pressure life puts on you is not there to destroy you. It's there to transform you. It's there to polish your heart, refine your soul, deepen your patience, and strengthen your reliance on Allah. Some of the deepest lessons in life are only learned in hardship. Some of the most profound du's are only made through tears. And some of the most resilient faith is only born when everything else has been stripped away. It's easy to say you trust Allah when everything is going well. It's easy to say you have faith when life is comfortable. But real trust is proven in hardship. Real faith is revealed when there's nothing left but hope in Allah. The soul that continues to make dua even when it seems like nothing is changing, is a soul that Allah is building for something greater about. That soul is becoming unshakable, not because of arrogance, not because of worldly strength, but because it has been trained to depend entirely on the one who never fails. And that kind of strength cannot be bought, cannot be borrowed, cannot be faked. It is built through trials. It is built through heartbreak. It is built through the kind of pain that forces you to ask questions you've never asked, to seek answers you never considered speaking about, to draw closer to the Quran, to reconnect with prayer, to rediscover the sweetness of istighfar, and to finally realize that all along, Shub speaking about, the only one who could rebuild your shattered soul was the one who created it, speaking about. The strongest people are not those who have the loudest voices or the most confident appearances. They are the ones who went to war with their own pain and came out on the other side not bitter, but better. Be speaking about. They chose Sabr over resentment. They chose shukr over complaint. They chose trust over panic. They chose Allah even when everything around them screamed for despair. They are not perfect. They are not immune to sadness that we should be speaking about, but they have learned how to kneel in sujood when the weight of the world becomes too heavy to be speaking about. They have learned that tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a form of worship when shed for the sake of Allah. Speaking about, they have learned that their past wounds do not define them, but their response to those wounds determines who they become in the sight of Allah. And what makes this rebuilding even more beautiful is that Allah never abandons the brokenhearted. In fact, He is closest to them. His mercy descends upon the soul that has been crushed by life and has nowhere to go but Him. And when that soul calls out with sincerity, with humility, with brokenness, the response is not delayed. It may not come in the form we expect. It may not remove the pain immediately. But it brings something even greater. It brings sakina, that calmness in the heart, that serenity in the soul we should be speaking about. That lightness that allows you to carry even the heaviest burdens because you know you are not carrying them alone. And once that strength settles into your heart, you begin to rise. Not because life has become easier speaking about, but because your connection with Allah has become deeper. The strongest souls are not afraid of starting over. To be speaking about, they know that sometimes Allah destroys your plans to build something far better. They know that what is taken away is not a punishment. It is a preparation. They know that behind every delay is divine wisdom. That behind every rejection is redirection. That behind every loss is a lesson. And they carry these truths with them, not just as words, but as armor. Armor against hopelessness, armor against self-pity, armor against giving up. And through their patience, their gratitude, their quiet perseverance, they become beacons for others. Their very existence reminds people that it is possible to be broken and still be whole, to be hurt and still be hopeful, to lose everything and still gain closeness to Allah. Your strength will not be found in how much you can avoid hardship, but in how much you allow hardship to shape you through the guidance of Allah. Every difficulty you face is an opportunity to rise. Every heartbreak is an invitation to rediscover your purpose. Every setback is a test of your trust that we should be speaking about. And if you walk that path with sincerity, Allah will not just heal you, He will elevate you. He will replace what you lost with something better. He will guide your heart in ways that nothing in this world can match. And the strength that comes from that process is the kind of strength that changes your life, that inspires others, that pleases your Creator. There are moments in your life when words don't come out easily, when the weight of what you're carrying silences your voice. The pain becomes too intense to describe, the fear too strong to fight, the confusion too overwhelming to untangle. And in those moments, speaking about, when it feels like the entire world has turned its back on you, when you look left and right and find no one who truly understands what's happening inside your heart, there remains one path, one door that we're speaking about, one option that is never closing the door of dua. Because when life has pulled everything away from you, it is only dua that can become the lifeline that between your shattered self and the mercy of the one who understands what you're not even able to say. It is often said that the most powerful prayers come from the most broken hearts. Speaking about the dala made in pain carries a weight that the dua made in ease cannot match. And when you feel like you're at rock bottom, when there's nowhere lower to fall, that is exactly where your dua has the potential to rise the highest. The angels record it. The heavens respond to it. The mercy of Allah surrounds it, because it is not just a ritual. It is not just an act of habit. It is a direct conversation between the servant and the master, the broken and the healer, the weak and the Almighty. And when you cry to Allah with no barriers, with no pride, with no agenda except, "Hu ya Allah, I need you," that is a moment that transforms not just your situation, but your entire soul. Some people wonder why their does in times of hardship feel so much more sincere than the ones made in comfort. The truth is, hardship removes distractions. It clears away the arrogance. It strips the heart of the belief that it can manage without Allah. And so the diya becomes pure, becomes raw, becomes real. You are no longer just asking for something. You are begging from a place of helplessness. And Allah loves that state. Speaking about, He loves it when His servant realizes that there is no one else who can fix the situation, no one else who can heal the wound, no one else who can open the door that has been slammed shut. In that realization lies your true strength. Because while the world may have failed you, your dua rises to the one who never fails. Think of the prophets. Speaking about, think of the way they made dua in their lowest moments. When Yunus an As was swallowed by the whale, alone in the darkness of the ocean, what did he say? La ilaha illa anta sabanaka inni kantu mina zalimin. He didn't blame the storm. He didn't blame the people. He didn't scream in frustration. He turned to Allah, admitted his weakness, and glorified his Lord. And that dua, speaking about, made in the depths of darkness, became his salvation. That dua wasn't long. It wasn't made in a masjid. It wasn't recited aloud for others to hear. It came from the depths of despair. And that's what made it powerful when you are at your lowest, when your soul feels bruised and your chest feels tight, and the words can barely form on your lips. Allah still hears you. He hears what you say, and He hears what you can't. He understands the die you whisper through your tears. He knows the cry in your heart, even when you don't have the strength to put it into words. And sometimes that silent dua, that wordless yearning, is more beloved to Allah than pages of eloquent supplication. Because it's sincere, because it's real, because it comes not from the tongue but from the soul. Many people ask, but I've been making dua for so long and nothing has changed. Speaking Abaidu, what to answer is not to stop making dua. The answer is to understand what dua really is. Dua is not just about getting what you ask for. Dua is an act of worship. It's a sign of your belief in the unseen. It's proof that you trust Allah even when nothing is going your way. It's a testimony that your heart has not given up, even when your situation hasn't improved. Every time you raise your hands, you're telling Allah, I still believe in your mercy. Every time you cry to Him, you're declaring, I know you hear me. And that in itself is victory. That is how brokenness becomes power, because you've placed your trust not in the outcome, but in the one who controls the outcome. There are things you're asking for right now that may not come in the form you imagine. Speaking about, you might be begging for someone to come back, and Allah is protecting you from something you don't see. You might be crying for a job, speaking about a relationship, a dream, and Allah is withholding it because He knows what it would do to your heart, your faith, your future. Sometimes your dua is answered not by giving, but by removing. Sometimes it is answered not by fixing the situation, but by fixing you. And that is something you only understand with time, patience, and perspective. And perspective, the power of dua, is not limited to the one who has memorized the most words. It's not reserved for the one who speaks fluent Arabic. It's not exclusive to the righteous. Even the most sinful soul, the most broken heart, the most lost person can make a dua that changes everything. All it takes is sincerity. All it takes is knowing that the door of Allah is always open, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. Speaking about no matter how long you've been away, there is no sin too great for His forgiveness. There is no pain too deep for His healing. There is no request too difficult for His power. You just have to ask. You just have to trust. You just have to keep turning to Him. Speaking about, even when everything inside you feels like giving up, and sometimes dua is not about asking at all. Sometimes it's about complaining to Allah the way a child complains to a parent, not with disrespect, but with vulnerability. Yaqub said, I only complain of my sorrow and grief to Allah. He didn't pretend to be okay. He didn't hide his sadness. Speaking about, he poured it all out to his Lord, and that pouring of pain became a form of worship. So even when you're not asking for anything, even when you're just venting your soul, letting out your fear, your sadness, your loneliness, that is dua. That is ibadah. That is the kind of submission that softens your heart and brings the mercy of Allah into your life in ways you don't expect. Never underestimate the power of one sincere. Be speaking about. It could be the reason your burden is lifted. It could be the reason your heart finds peace. It could be the reason your future changes. But even if nothing changes on the outside, the change within you is what truly matters. Because a heart that learns to make dua in its darkest hour becomes a heart that cannot be broken by anything in this world. Speaking about, it becomes a heart that is connected to the eternal, A heart that has tasted reliance on Allah could be speaking about. A heart that finds hope where others see despair. That is the power of do. There are moments in life when something you are holding on to so tightly slips from your hands. And no matter how much you cry, no matter how much you beg, no matter how many prayers you make to bring it back, it doesn't return. It could be a person you loved deeply, a dream you nurtured for years, a plan you carefully prepared, a home you built with hope, a job you believed was your future, or even a version of yourself you were proud of. When it's gone, the pain feels unbearable. You look at the loss and think, why would Allah take this from me? And what could possibly be better than what I just lost? But what the heart struggles to see in that moment is that when Allah removes something, it is never without purpose. And when He rebuilds, what He gives is always greater than what was taken. When you're in the middle of that loss, speaking about, it doesn't feel like something better is coming. It feels like your life has been dismantled. It feels like you're left with pieces that don't fit together anymore. The people around you may tell you to be patient, to trust the plan, to have faith. But your heart still aches, your mind still questions, and your nights are filled with silence and pain. Yet those very moments are the ones where your rebuilding begins. Not the kind of rebuilding you do with your own strength, but the kind that Allah orchestrates in His mercy, wisdom, and timing. Because the one who created your heart knows exactly how to heal it. And when He rebuilds you, He does not give you back what you lost in the same form. He gives you something purer, more lasting, more beneficial for your deen, your dunya, and your akhirah. Sometimes Allah takes things away not to punish you, but to protect you. Be speaking about. He removes people from your life because they were a test you didn't see coming. He ends a job because it was going to corrupt your heart. He closes a door, but behind it was harm that would have broken your soul. You may see the loss as a setback, but in reality, it was a rescue. And the longer you stay attached to what was taken, the harder it becomes to embrace what is coming. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of trust. It is a surrender of your limited understanding to the one whose knowledge encompasses all things. It is saying, "Oh yeah, Allah, speaking about, I don't know why this happened, but I believe you do. And if you took it away, then I trust what you're planning is better for me." There are people who lost everything they loved and ended up discovering a closeness to Allah they never knew before. There are people whose plans were destroyed and later realized that those destroyed plans were the reason they began to live with purpose. Be speaking about. There are people who were humiliated, who fell into despair, who were mocked and rejected, only to speaking about, only to find those painful moments were exactly what they needed to discover who they were in the sight of Allah. Or they didn't rebuild with pride. They didn't rise with arrogance. They grew in humility, in gratitude, in connection to their Lord. And because of that, what they received later was not just a blessing. It was a responsibility, a gift shaped by divine wisdom, speaking about, something they carried with more sincerity, more wisdom, and more faith. What you lose may have been beautiful, but what Allah replaces it with will carry barakah. Barakah in your time, barakah in your relationships, barakah in your peace. The world may give you something that looks perfect, but without barakah, it will feel empty. But when Allah gives, He gives with light. And that light spreads into every corner of your life. It heals wounds you forgot were even there. We speaking about it softens your heart in a way that makes sujood feel like home. It gives you clarity, strength, patience, and could be speaking about and contentment that no worldly gain could ever bring. That is why what Allah builds after breaking you is always better. Not always easier, not always what you expected, but always better. You see, sometimes you are holding on to something that is preventing your growth. A relationship, a comfort zone, an identity, a habit, an attachment. And because you don't have the strength to let go of it, Allah removes it for you. He removes it not to hurt you, but to elevate you. Not to break you, but to wake you. Not to punish you, but to purify you. And after the initial pain fades, after the tears lessen, after the numbness begins to lift, you will start to see it. Slowly, quietly, gently, you will begin to notice the signs of something new growing within you that we're speaking about. You will begin to notice that your heart now turns to Allah quicker, that your does are deeper, speaking about, that your faith is no longer dependent on your circumstances, that your goals are no longer limited to this world, that your reliance is no longer on people. This is the rebuilding. This is the strength that emerges when Allah reconstructs your soul from the ruins of what you thought was the end. The rebuilding isn't always visible to others. You may still look broken to them, but internally your heart has shifted. Where once there was anxiety, there is now a quiet sabr. Where once there was confusion, there is now tawakkul. Where once there was fear, there is now submission. You may not even realize how far you've come until one day you look back and remember how you used to cry yourself to sleep. And now your tears have turned into sincere gratitude. You remember how you used to beg for something to come back, and now you thank Allah that it didn't. You remember how you used to feel abandoned, and now you feel closer to your Creator than ever before. That is the power of what Allah rebuilds. We're speaking about, it doesn't just restore, it transforms. It doesn't just replace, it elevates. It doesn't just fill the gap. It creates a new version of that you never knew existed. There is a reason why the hearts that have been tested the most often become the most beautiful, speaking about. Because they've been emptied of everything that was unnecessary. Because they've been humbled, purified, softened, and rebuilt upon the foundation of la ilaha illallah. That's why the reward for sabr is not just relief. It's Jannah, speaking about. Because the journey of being broken and rebuilt by Allah is not something everyone understands. It's not visible in photographs. It's not celebrated with applause. It's a private, painful, purifying path that only Allah sees entirely. And when He sees you walk that path with trust, with patience, with sincerity, He does not leave you unrewarded. What you lost may have made you cry, speaking about, but what He gives you next will make you bow in gratitude in ways you never did before. When you look back at your life, at the trials you faced, the pain that left you sleepless, the moments you felt abandoned, broken, confused, and completely lost, be speaking about, you will begin to see the signs of divine love written in every chapter of hardship. You will realize that it wasn't the ease that brought you closer to your Rabb. It was the difficulty. Speaking about, it wasn't the comfort that made you cry in sujood. It was the pain. It wasn't the applause of the world that deepened your faith. It was the silence of solitude, the aching of loss, the darkness of the unknown. Because in those moments when life broke you, something greater was happening inside. A transformation, a rebuilding, a soul being shaped not by the world, but by the one who created it. A heart being emptied of what it needed so it could be filled with what it was always meant to carry. You learn that breaking is not the end, it is the beginning. That pain is not punishment, it is purification. That weakness is not failure, it is a doorway to divine strength. We should be speaking about. You discover that just people are not those who are untouched by hardship that be speaking about, but those who are touched deeply by it and yet return again and again to their Lord with hope. You witnessed how dua became your anchor, when everything else drifted away. How your tears became more eloquent than words. How your isolation became your sanctuary, and how every closed door was replaced by a path you never imagined. And you began to see that what Allah took away, He replaced with something more lasting, more beautiful, speaking about, more meaningful, something your heart now knows would never have come without the struggle. So if you are broken, don't be ashamed. He's speaking about, if you are tired, don't be afraid. If you have lost everything, don't think that you have been left behind. Because it is through this breaking that Allah is preparing you for something greater. It is through this emptiness that He is creating space for true fulfillment. Speaking about, it is through this silence that He is teaching your soul to listen. And what lies ahead for the one who holds on to Allah during the storm is not just healing, it is elevation. It is peace. It is a connection with your Creator that this world cannot match. Your journey through hardship is not meaningless. It is sacred. It is speaking written. And it is watched by the one who will never waste your tears, never ignore your speaking about, and never leave a heart that turns to Him unanswered,